kitchen recording this because my husband's working from home and took over my home office. Erika here for another exciting interview for you for the YouTube Power Hour. So this week I am #embracing the quarantine and trying to figure out creative ways to film and record content while my husband's taking over my office, my kids are home from school, and I'm trying to get as much done during their nap time. So if you can relate, comment below, let me know how your situation has changed. But I wanted to bring you this amazing interview from Erin Busbee. Now, Erin is one of the most popular style YouTube creators here for women over 40. Her channel has nearly 300,000 YouTube subscribers. And in this interview, she explains some of her best strategies for growth on YouTube. So if you are a fan of fashion, or if you have a channel that you're looking to start or considering starting that's in the fashion world, I think you would really enjoy this interview. Erin is a veteran here on YouTube and as a blogger, and she shares so many amazing insights. Like always, please subscribe if you are enjoying these interviews, because I come out with a fresh new interview every single week. And because our lives have changed a little bit, maybe you have a little bit more time to devote to your YouTube channel, or maybe you're thinking, hey, you know what? This online thing might be a really good idea right now because things are a little uncertain, but the one thing that I am certain of is the fact that being online is pretty important today. So if you've been putting it on the back burner, or you've got a YouTube channel that is kind of a side hustle or been dabbling in it, but you want to get started, I've put together a free masterclass for you. And in the masterclass, we're going to reveal my 3-step zero to influence system that's going to help you get rapid growth on YouTube, as well as mistakes you might be making that is holding you back from growth on YouTube. So go to erikavieira.net/masterclass for that free class. And I want you to get as much out of it as possible. So I've got a whole workbook associated with it, and it's there for you to help you really move forward in your YouTube dreams. Enjoy the interview. Mwah. Well, hello, Erin. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, Erika, I'm so excited to be here. I'm really excited to take part in your podcast. I think it's a really amazing resource for women, especially us YouTubers. There isn't a lot of information out there for us, and so I really am just honored to be here. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Erin. That means a lot. Thank you. And personally, I'm a fan of your channel. I watch your videos. I've been watching them. I don't know how I first discovered them, but I think it was like recommended to me, you know, or actually I think we were like friends on Instagram or something. I was like, I gotta check her out. And then I started watching your channel. I'm like, oh, I love her videos. I have to have her on the podcast. So I'm very excited to dive in. Lots of questions for you. But before we get into those, why don't you give our listeners and viewers, because we're now on YouTube, a little brief kind of Cliff Notes version of your time and journey on YouTube?
Sure. So when I married my husband, we're going way back to like 2007. Mm-hmm. Shortly after we got married, we moved to Texas, and he said, you know, if you want to reinvent yourself, this is your time to do that. And before that, I was working in television news. I was a journalist. And so I didn't really want to pursue that any longer. And he said, well, what would you do for free? That's what you should do. And so I said,
great husband.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I said, I know, he's so supportive and so incredible. So I thought that was an amazing question. What would you do for free? And my answer was, I just want to help women look pretty. Like, that really is where my heart and passion was. And so I started a wardrobe consulting business where I went into women's closets and I helped them organize and edit their closets, and also shopped with them and styled their clothes. And then after about 5 years of that, and it was awesome, and I loved it, and it was such a good training ground for what I was going to do later on down the road, I decided that I needed to find a way to reach more women and also to scale the business. So I was only one person. When you're seeing clients, you can only see so many clients in a week. I tried training somebody to see clients with me and for me, and that didn't work out. And I realized it was really difficult to do that. And then I found out about affiliate marketing in the blogging space. And so I signed up for an affiliate network. And once I was accepted into the network, then I was off and running. And from that moment on, I was all in on both blogging and YouTube. So I did a complete pivot and basically made the decision that I was going to do both right from the get-go, and focus on both YouTube and the blog and growing both platforms so that I could reach more women.
When was this?
This was 2014.
Okay. For some reason, I don't know why I thought you had, and maybe I'm making this assumption because I feel like usually people that have a blog, they start their blog first and they're like, oh, I need to get on a video. So I find it interesting that you actually, I mean, in 2014, that's like, almost 5 years ago, that you decided I'm going to do both. You literally started both at the same time.
Yep, I did.
So did you have like a video and then you had a blog post associated with it? Like, were they linked that way?
I think the reason I started both is because, I had this background in television and I had always wanted to try YouTube and just hadn't like buckled down to try it. And so once I made the decision that I was going to go all in with the online business versus the one-on-one styling sessions in person, then I thought this would be the fastest way to reach as many women as possible and also utilize all those skills that I had acquired as a journalist.
That's great. And so then take me back to that. Your first few videos, your first few months, like, yes, you were on camera, but did you have like tech experience, editing, all that fun stuff?
Well, when I worked in news, like we had editors that would edit your pieces for you. So you actually weren't physically editing.
Yeah.
But I understood the concept of how to edit a video, which was really helpful. But so in the beginning, it was a little bit of a mindset adjustment. Like I realized I didn't have to have this super slick professional video like you would in television news. So, at first I was like trying to do 2 camera setup and all this crazy stuff. And then I just realized that that's not what people want. They want something that's more organic and authentic, and they don't need all the bells and whistles. I think that's changed a little bit over time, but in the beginning when I started in 2014, it was really more raw and less polished, less sleek. So I just really got in there and started. I started really, with a point and shoot. I started with iMovie. I just did 1 video a week. That was all I could manage. I just managed to shoehorn whatever I could, fit in. But definitely I was invested in uploading 1 video per week in the beginning.
So since you started in 2014, have you always been consistent, like every week? I mean, maybe I'm sure there's times here and there, but you've been consistent from the get-go at least once a week.
100%. Yes. I think I've missed 1 or 2 weeks in 5+ years.
Oh, wow. And so when you were there at that moment, when you started, you were like 100% in. It wasn't like a lot of people, I interviewed, like, oh, it was kind of a hobby. I uploaded here, I uploaded there. But for you, it was like, nope, I want to do this. My husband said, do what you love. Now I'm going to do this video thing, YouTube. I'm just going to do it every single week.
Yeah, it really started for me day one as a passion project and business. It was always a business because I had wardrobe styling business.
Yeah.
And then I pivoted, and this is always a business, and that's how I always framed it.
And so because you had the affiliate network, you're with Reward Style, right?
Yes. So Reward Style, back in that time frame, they were really tough in accepting people. And so they didn't accept me right away.
They still are, though. I know that they don't accept.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, okay. No, they still are. I know a lot of people that still try and, they'll tell me, oh, yeah, I heard about it. And because I'm part of Reward Style, too. And I think it took me, I think I applied twice, too. The first time they didn't accept it. But a lot of people tell me, oh, yeah, I didn't get accepted. And then they do. So.
Yeah, so if somebody's trying to get in with Reward Style and they're not really sure how to go about it, my strong advice would be to make sure that you have your blog content up, that it looks pretty professional, that you have professional photography. But then also, if you get declined, and this is what I did this second time they turned me down, I wrote back and said, hey, I am all in. I am going to make you guys so much money, and you need to accept me into the program because I promise you I'm going to make it worth your while, and I'm going to work really hard. And this is such a passion for me. And so it was that email that actually got me accepted.
That's great, because ultimately, at the end of the day, their business and they make money when you make money. So when you kind of pitch yourself like that, it's kind of like if I was on the receiving end of that, I'm like, all right, I'll let her in. Like, why not?
Yeah, exactly. I do think they have, part of their prestige is that they do make it tough to get in, and that they're not letting just anybody in. So a big part of that is having that more professional appearance when it comes to your blog. For sure, I would say, but definitely persistence as well.
Yeah. And so is that who you were at the beginning, or were you with somebody else at the beginning?
No, I've been with Reward Style since 2014.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of my business is through Reward Style.
Okay. And so at the beginning, you were doing the affiliate thing on your videos and your blog and everything.
Yeah, from day one, I had affiliate links in the description box for all my YouTube videos, and then all my blogs, I had, shopping widgets with my recommendations and suggestions. But every blog post and every video, I always think back to the news motto. It's you always want to do news you can use. And so there's always like tangible takeaway information for the reader or the viewer in those. But it also, peppered throughout the content is affiliate links for sure.
That's great. And I think so, like, I think affiliate links are great. I don't have an issue with them. I know, every now and then maybe you'll hear like people commenting like, oh yeah, whatever, but it's no, like the customer pays the same amount of money, and it's not like it's like any more money. And it's just that as a YouTube creator, I mean, it's a lot of work, and it's like you're providing free content. You're providing I don't want to say like a service, but you're really providing information, like you said, value. And I think the links are really helpful, because if someone is, and I'm sure that you get asked all the time, they want that specific pair of jeans, they want that specific pair of shoes, the links makes it easy for them to like click on it and then shop it. And then you, for all your hard work and your effort, get a little tiny percentage of that.
It's so funny. I think that from day one, there's almost like this stigma on YouTube where it's like shameful to do sponsored content or shameful to have affiliate links. And that's so crazy, because it is, for most of us, it is a business, and we do invest an inordinate amount of time. As you know, I mean, it is a beyond full-time job. And so of course you want to be financially rewarded for all of your hard work and effort. And I feel like if people are there and they have a problem with your affiliate links, like they can still, listen to your content, watch your content, and they don't have to shop through your links. They have the choice, or, to either shop through them or not shop through them. It's totally up to them.
And I find too is that there are a lot of people, which is great, that are supportive and they understand that concept. And I think more and more as YouTube is just progressing and developing and more people are watching it, people get that and understand that and make an extra effort. I don't know if you found this, but an extra effort to shop through your links to support you and say thank you so much for providing this content.
I think so, yeah. And sometimes I'm surprised by the people that support me versus don't support me. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like some of your friends that don't support you, but then you have these strangers that go out of their way to support you. So it's really incredible. I think, as I'm sure, Erika, that the people that watch your channel, that are loyal to your channel, that are dedicated to your channel, they're invested in you, and they're so incredible and supportive and lovely. And the emails and the notes that you get, it's unreal. Like in no other profession, in no other career do you get these kind of testimonials and adulation on a regular basis. It's incredible. And for me personally, it just like, talk about filling up your bucket. Like you get those emails, like somebody says, your advice has helped me feel more confident and, walk with a little extra spring in my step. And I feel so much better at work now. And people are complimenting me at work. I mean, there is literally nothing better than hearing those words. It's just incredible.
Yeah. The impact is amazing. And so back then you were doing the affiliate thing and all that, kind of new to YouTube, but how are your videos doing? How were things progressing for you? And like for you starting this brand new thing, you're like, okay, I'm all in, but were you convinced that this was it for you?
It's ironic because I was convinced pretty early on that it was it, but at the same time, I didn't take it as seriously as I could have. So had I maybe found somebody like you early on, I think I probably could have grown a lot faster. I just uploaded videos that I had time to make and that I wanted to make in the beginning without a lot of strategy behind it. And so I think that if I had started day one with that strategy, I definitely would be much bigger now. But starting out, it was just like I wanted to do certain topics and certain videos, and whatever made me happy or whatever the viewers were asking for, I would do. And I think that was really lovely and wonderful. But the growth as a result of that was slower. It was steady and slow. So my first year, for example,
take a look at some of these
I
older
grew
videos.
10,000 subscribers in 1 year. So it took me a whole year to get to 10,000. And now I average 10,000 plus per month.
I was going to say, you probably do that at least a month.
Yeah. I think that in the beginning, if you can take more of a strategic approach, you can grow faster.
100%. I'm a huge believer, especially today, because, even at 2014, maybe you found this or not, but the landscape wasn't as competitive with so many people on YouTube creating this kind of content.
Oh, no, it definitely was not. And that's why when I said earlier about, I felt like in the beginning, when I started in 2014, the quality wasn't that big a deal. I feel like that's changed. Don't you think?
I think so. And I think especially in your niche, fashion and style. I think there's certain niches and certain things that can get away with not being highly produced. And I think they're more driven by story time and like these kind of like, sometimes people get on and they have these story type videos and very personality driven. But I think if you're doing something like what I found, style and fashion, there's a little bit more of that, not like you said, pressure, but also like that expectation, because so many people, that's what people are doing now, and that's what people are watching. And I think when it comes to fashion style, it just lends itself to being a little bit more produced. Because like, if you're going to want to be able to see the clothes and see how they fit, see how they wear, like you want to see people trying them on, wearing them, you want to see photos, like it lends itself to that type of production anyways.
Yeah, I agree. And so I've definitely stepped up my production game over the last year and a half, quite a bit.
Yeah, and I want to dive into that a little bit later, because that is something I've definitely noticed with your channel, and I really want to get into that. But going back, then what was the moment, so we can look at your old videos, which is so fun. So if you guys are on YouTube, comment below if you're somebody here who's been with Erin since some of these older videos here. But it looks like from the get-go you knew you want to do fashion, you want to do style.
Yeah, it was always style and fashion has always been my focus. My tagline is fashion and beauty ideas for busy women juggling life over 40. So I'm speaking to somebody who see a lot of things, who doesn't have a lot of time, who maybe has kids, has a career, a house, a husband, who maybe it's that they're transitioning into a different phase of life. There are various reasons why women feel disconnected from their sense of style. And my goal always has been to help provide them with a roadmap to get their style back on track, kind of get their mojo back, so to speak. Yeah.
And it, I'm somebody, I'm not in my 40s, I'm still in my 30s, but I really enjoy your channel anyways. Like I said, you're one of the ones I regularly watch. Have you found that is your audience primarily women over 40, or what is the demographics of the women that watch your channel?
No, it's really 30 to 65, I would say.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of older women as well. And then there are a lot of younger women. And the truth is, I think that the tips that I share apply to women of all ages.
I agree.
I'm 45. And so, sometimes I'll get women who are like, I'm a grandma and I can't wear heels anymore. And, I've got joint problems. And so that person I do speak to sometimes, but not all of the time. And so they can certainly glean certain tips from my channel, but they may not be able to wear all of the things that I recommend and suggest. They may feel like some of it's too young.
So at what point then, we can go back to some of these thumbnails. At what point were you like, okay, I'm going to be more strategic? Because you said there was a moment where you were doing it seriously, but it was more about like, hey, I'm going to upload whatever I feel like. And then it sounded like you did start to kind of get it and realize, okay, there's certain things I need to do. What was that point? And then what did you start to do differently?
So there were a couple of YouTubers that I followed, and I noticed that their growth was really fast. And I was like, I wonder why they're growing so fast. Because you just stay the course and you grow and plug along. And actually, I met one of your former clients at the Reward Style Conference, and she had told me her channel, and I looked at her channel and saw that she had gained significant growth in a very short amount of time. And that was really what piqued my interest. I was like, well, wait, that's possible? I didn't even understand that was possible. And so once I realized that it was possible, then I just sat down and was like, okay, we're going to get strategic. We're going to figure out how to do that. And so what I did was I learned Photoshop so I could make better thumbnails instead of just Pinky or Canva. So I really buckled down with Photoshop. Also, just looking at what titles performed well for other influencers and YouTubers. So if there was a title that somebody had in the genre that I'm in fashion, that had over 1 million views, I would write that down. And
that's smart.
Most of the time, I don't actually watch the video because I don't want to know what they say, because I don't want to say anything similar to what they're saying. Yeah. But I want to use the title that they're using that is getting all of those views. And in using that strategy, that has really helped me create viral videos, which has made my growth exponential and faster.
It's so funny.
The last 2 years.
Yeah, because that is definitely one of the pieces of advice that I give my students, my clients, is take a look at what's performing well. Like, know who's within your niche, people that you respect, people that you admire. It can even be outside of your niche too. But take a look at their titles and thumbnails and see what they're doing. And you don't have to watch their videos because it's actually not so much about the videos, because everybody has their own style, their own personality, and then hopefully their own advice and what they're doing. It's really more about looking at the titles and thumbnails. And so it's interesting that once you started employing that advice, that you started to see some growth. That's exactly one of the things I tell my students also.
So yeah, I had a couple of viral videos, and once you have a viral video, all of a sudden your growth goes, just like plugging along to that rocket ship growth that I was talking about. And so I've had a couple months where it's 15,000 plus per month. These are two of them right here that you're showing. Those two videos both created a ton of growth for my channel.
Yeah, and they were more recent. The How to Look Slimmer was about 5 months ago, and then How to Look Expensive was about a year ago. But what was like your first taste of this? Because it sounded like once you spoke to another creator, which is awesome, that she was somebody who worked with me, so I think that's awesome. And you said, hey, you could be strategic, and you started to do it. What was your first taste of that?
I mean, I really think the How to Look Expensive was the first video that took off, that really started the huge growth.
Yeah, that's great.
So I did try to do follow-up videos to these viral videos. I did How to Look Expensive 2 and How to Look Slimmer 2, and those did not perform as well as those first two videos. So it's really hard to know what's going to work and what's not.
Yeah, that's
you
interesting.
Always refer to it as lightning in a bottle.
Yes, I do. I always say it is like lightning in a bottle and you just never know. It's like everything has to align just perfectly and then that video goes viral. So I was actually wondering that because when I looked at this, I was like, number one. I was like, what is how to look expensive number one? I was like thinking, is that is it like the one thing? But I was like, no, she talked about a bunch of things in the video. So I'm assuming you added this number one after you created like the series.
That's right. I did. And I think there's 4 of them.
Okay. So then this was about a year ago. And one of the things that I noticed when I was like looking through your channel, I have my notes here, is that it did look like starting last year, like you started your channel in 2014, August 2014. And then about a year later, no, not even a year later. We're talking about like 3 years later, summer of 2017, you're around like 40,000 subscribers. And then a year after that, it's like you had doubled, which was, it looked like June of 2018, you're at 86,000 subscribers. And then it looks like after that is when things like really started to take off. Because then within a year, it looks as if you've grown over 150,000 subscribers. And I believe that was after this initial
I feel like
video.
I feel like after I hit the 100K mark, the growth has been exponential and really fast.
Yeah. And so, okay. So then you started to be more strategic. And really, one of the things that you say is like really studying other creators, other people that are doing good things and just kind of seeing what their titles and thumbnails are about. So I'm assuming that's how you get some video ideas.
I think that's a huge part of it. And to your point before, it doesn't have to be somebody in your specific genre. It could, I look a lot at like bright side videos because those videos always perform so well and they have the greatest thumbnails. And so I look at their titles and sometimes find inspiration from their titles. I look at beauty YouTubers and see what they're doing, and I'll create some of that style of content and maybe get inspired for titles from those. Really try to find those viral videos. I think looking at videos over 1 million that have over 1 million views is the key. And then for other videos, I literally just listen to my viewers. Like, what do they want? What are they asking for? They ask for things all the time. So I have this wealth of ideas just from the viewers. And then I also am an idea person. I come up with new ideas all the time. I love to try different things. Some things work, some things don't. And I've certainly had my share of things that haven't worked. But I think you have to keep trying and you have to keep just, pushing your creativity and also just adding some freshness and excitement for your regular viewers.
Yeah, 100%. You got to keep things interesting. You got to keep people coming back. And so do you pay attention? It sounds like now you do, being a little bit more strategic. Do you pay attention to your analytics?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I pretty much look at my YouTube app every single day to see what the sub count is. I also look for audience retention per video. What's the percentage there? I look at the audience retention graph. Does it plummet in the beginning? Is it a pretty steady line, or are there a lot of dips? So recently, because I've had a lot of dips, a kind of a roller coaster line with my audience retention, I figured out that the thing I was doing to help the viewer was also hurting me as a creator. And that was to have these like outfit number one slate with music. And so people were skipping ahead to the next graphic, and they knew that was when the next outfit was, and that was why my line was a little bit like a roller coaster. So I took those away. There's still an indicator for those new looks, but it's not so obvious. It's not like music, stinger, graphic. It's just like, here's a number, here's the look. And so that is helping create that more steady line on the audience retention graph.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We're diving deep now.
No, I mean, that's really good though, because I know my listeners really enjoy these kind of very specific tidbits, and that audience retention percentage is huge. I mean, do you have a goal that you have that you think like, okay, good, I did good? Like, what are the numbers that you're trying to aim for?
My current average is a little over 50%, and I'm aiming for 60% per video.
That's good. Yeah. That's why I tell people is you want to have, when you have at least 60%, that's when you really start to see a lot more growth. But I always tell people try and aim for at least 50 to 60%, because what that really means, and for people listening, that maybe like, oh, what are they talking about? Really, your audience retention percentage is if you have a video that's 10 minutes long and somebody's watching 5 minutes of that video, then you've got a 50% audience retention. So people are watching at least half of your video. So you want people to watch at least half of your video. And a lot of people are really surprised because when they start to look at their numbers, they're like, oh my God, mine's like 15% or it's like 20%. Like I'm making these videos and I had no idea. People are like only watching like a quarter of it. And so what do you do with that information when you take a look at it? Is there anything that you tweak? Or I know you already mentioned you took that. That was really interesting. You took people, so people were skipping ahead where they're like kind of bored with that outfit. And then they're like, I'm going to the next one because they can see it. Right.
Right. And so the other thing that I do is I'm chatty, right? So I would chat a lot in the beginning instead of getting right to the meat and potatoes. And so what I was noticing is that pretty much everyone always has that nosedive off, from the beginning, but mine was bigger than I want. Yeah. And it usually is like, it's like a dive and then a straight line. And so I just thought that if I tighten up the intro, that could really help to save some of that, so that wouldn't be quite as far as it wouldn't be quite as steep of a dive if I'm able to just get to meat faster and refrain from chatting so much.
Yeah. So how long do you try and make your intros now?
I just really try to do like a quick, I don't do any big glossy intro anymore. There's no like graphics. I used to do like music graphics, all this fun stuff, very production heavy. I don't do any of that anymore. It's like, here's what you're going to learn in this video. Hi guys, it's Erin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about this. Let's get to it. Sometimes there's like one thought between that, but that's about it. So it's pretty much like 8 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's quick. And it's funny because I had a client who we were looking at that. I was like, oh my God, have you looked at this yet? And no, that's what they hired me for. But I was like, look at your intro. I mean, look at your audience retention, because it was literally like dipping, but then it would go back up. And it would go back up. And I was like, it's because your intro is too freaking long and people are skipping it and they want to just go straight to what you're talking about. So a lot of people were skipping it. And kind of like even what you said, people were skipping parts to go ahead. And for her, I was like, you got to tighten your intro, girl, because people want to watch your content and they're not clicking away. Like they're committed. They want to watch your video, but they don't want to sit there and watching you ramble at the beginning. So it's really interesting when you start to look at that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, when I'm getting back to who my avatar is and who that woman is, and I said very specifically, it's a busy woman juggling life. Then it started to click for me like, hey, if you're talking to yourself, basically, as somebody like you don't have time to listen to the chit chat. So give them what they want and what they need and what you would want and need, and you're going to perform better. And I think that that's held true.
And now in talking to you, I think that's probably why I enjoy your videos so much, because I do find that I'm busy. So I mean, I do watch a lot of YouTube because that's my job, and I make it a point actually. Like I every day watch, yes, I watch my clients and my students' videos, but I make it a point to watch an hour of YouTube a day of like just different creators, different people, because I just want to see. But I've always really appreciated and liked your videos because they're just like, they're value heavy, and they move and they're not taking forever. So now that you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, I'm like 100%, your avatar, busy woman, in the 30s, whatever. And I think, yeah, it's working.
Well, good. Wonderful.
Yeah. And so, okay. So any other analytics that you pay attention to?
Well, I think the sub count is a big number. Obviously that's the first thing that brands are looking at. But then also, that ratio of your views to your sub count, I think is really important, because you do see some people that have, they'll have 1 or 2 viral videos and they'll have a huge sub count. but then they have almost no views per video. And so I'm really proud of my view rate and my view numbers. That's a big and important number for me, for sure. My goal is over 1 million views a month. If I can do that, I'm happy.
And have you been hitting that?
Right now I'm at 1.3 views for the month for the last 28 days, which is great.
That's
because
amazing.
I've had a couple of videos that are doing really well. But yeah, I pretty routinely hit 1 million views per month.
Yeah, because I was looking at your most recent videos, and if you guys are here on YouTube, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Like, I was like, oh, her views are good. Like, I was like, okay, the one from 5 days ago was 61,000 views. A week ago, 100,000 views. 2 weeks ago, 163,000. Another one, 100,000. And I was like, oh, wow, good for her. Like, your views are consistently high. There's one that was like a little bit low, and I was like, oh my God, that was so funny. It was like tips for Disney. People don't want to see Disney from you. They just want fashion.
Meanwhile, that video is so good. I'm like, if I were a mom going to Disney World, this is a must-watch video. But nobody's watching it, because you're right. Every time I try to do a travel video, they're like, nope, sorry.
It's just so funny.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And we've traveled to some really cool places. We always take one big, huge family trip every year. Last year we went to Peru and Ecuador. A year before we went to Japan. A year before we went to Iceland. So I've made videos on all those trips, and no, nobody watches. They don't care.
They're like, okay, get back to style, get back to fashion. I did see, I was like, oh, maybe she was trying to get something out of her trip, that you talked about, like, what to wear to Disney World. I can't find that video now, but it seemed like more people were interested in that. Oh yeah, it still wasn't like super high viewed. That was 29,000 views, but it was definitely higher than the 6.7 thousand of how to plan your trip.
Right. No, exactly. When I say, like, we did a trip to Paris, just my husband and I, and I did what I wore in Paris, and that video did really well. And then I did a video on what French women wear, and that video did really well. But anything about the trip itself or the planning of the trip, they don't want to hear it. But if it's about what I wore on the trip or what I packed for the trip, they're all over it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's hilarious. Okay. So, let's talk about your videos and the production style, because that is one thing that I noticed, and you mentioned it earlier. I have a bunch of questions as it relates to this. So do you outsource anything at this point? Because you seem like a very, very busy with your channel and your blog and everything. Do you outsource anything?
Well, just to give your viewers and listeners a sense. So I in terms of output, I'm doing at least 3 blog posts every week. 3 new blog posts, at least. And then 2 new videos every week. I post on Instagram every day. I have a Pinterest profile that's very active. That's a ton of content. And so in order to maintain that, I really have, at this point in the game, I'm 5+ years into the business, I really have amassed a great team of contractors to help me. And so I made like a list. I was like, I'm going to make this list for Erika so I don't forget anybody. But I've outsourced a ton of things, and that really has helped me so much to try and establish some sort of balance, because as a mom, 2 kids, it's really hard to have a business like this that is all encompassing. It takes so much time, and also to find the balance to have that time with your family and to be a great mom. I mean, being a great mom is my number one priority. So yeah, I outsource a lot. So I do have an amazing video editor. She's just incredible, and she also has a heavy background in production. So she recently came to see me here in Telluride, Colorado, and she helped me just to figure out the setup for my studio, like the lighting and where to put the lights. And
that's cool. So she's local to you.
No, I hired her to come
and help you out
and see me. Yeah, because I was just like, I told you I was getting serious about production, Erika.
Yeah, no, that's great.
I was like, I'm getting her here. She's going to teach me how to do all of this. I don't have a husband who's involved in my business. Yeah. I don't have a videographer, so I really need to understand how to set up all of this equipment. And so she stayed with me for stayed here in Telluride for 2 days, taught me how to set up all the lighting and what settings to use on my camera. And that really has made a huge impact. And that was just within the last few months.
So I'm so glad that you say that, because I am such a huge advocate for, if you want to grow and you want to scale and you want to do all the things, you have to get help. And a lot of people come into this business or YouTube channel because they want freedom. They want freedom from their 9 to 5. They want to do what they love and make money from it, right? And it's great. You definitely can do it, but you'll be kidding yourself if you think you can do it all yourself. And the majority of people like you, the majority of people that are successful and they're putting out a ton of content, they have help, whether it's an editor, a graphic designer. Like there's no way. And the reality is that you want to stay in your zone of genius. You want to be doing what you're really good at and what your audience wants from you. And if you get bogged down with editing and the tech and everything, you're like, oh, this is taking me forever to set up. Then by the time you sit down to film, you're going to be over it. And you're going to be like, oh, let me just get this over with. And that's not what your audience wants from you. They want from you the best you that you can be. And sometimes that requires you taking a few things off your plate.
Oh, no. I remember one of the early conferences I went to, blogger conferences, they talked about the power of outsourcing and how important it is. And at that time, I think I just wasn't ready to start outsourcing. But once I started outsourcing, it's almost like this snowball effect. Then it's almost like, well, what else can I outsource? What else can I outsource?
Yeah.
It's very
you get
exciting.
a taste of it.
And so now I'm the master of outsourcing. And I'm getting to this point where I think I'm going to be able to routinely take Fridays off, which is a huge goal for me. We moved to this beautiful ski resort town so that I could enjoy the outdoors and kind of slow down. And so I'm hoping I can start like my women's ski group on Fridays. That's my goal.
Oh my God. I want to join that. I love skiing. That's amazing. And so you said you have a list. So what all, other than the editing, what else do you outsource? Just to give people ideas of like what they can do at some point.
Sure. So I have a virtual assistant and she manages my email inbox. She also manages my editorial calendar. She also helps with sponsorship obligations, submitting all the links and the pieces for that. I have a blog editor. She really helps me assemble and find all of the hyperlinks and affiliate links for most of the blog posts. I also sometimes send her pictures. I'll just send it in a Dropbox and she will come up with titles based on the photos and then she'll submit them back to me. And then we, with help from WordStyle, we'll go over which titles are the most SEO friendly. That's search engine optimization. So we really want to make sure that the titles are not only catchy and interesting and useful, they also have great, searchability. And then I also have a photographer that I work with. There's actually 2 locally that I work with and usually shoot with once a week. I do have a gal now who is taking my YouTube videos and creating a blog post out of the videos for me, which is great. And then who else? I've been working with a graphic designer for the last year, and she's been working on just projects for me like blog graphics and Pinterest graphics. But we're working really closely together now on thumbnails because I want her to get up to speed in making thumbnails that really pop for YouTube, because traditional graphic designers do not understand YouTube and they cannot make YouTube thumbnails because they want them to look really pretty. But the thumbnails that perform the best are not necessarily the best designed or the prettiest. They have to be bold. They have to be, the font has to be readable on a mobile device. So we're working closely together and I'm hoping to get her up to speed so she can really take over the thumbnails because that's a huge time drain too.
Are you currently doing the thumbnails now?
Well, she's doing them and then I usually end up redoing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of back and forth. I'm hoping that she will be up to speed over the next couple months, and then I can just really let go of that.
Where have you found
even though I love it, Erika?
Yeah. But I mean, the thumbnails takes a lot. I mean, when I am working with my clients, I tell them the first thing, if you're like thinking and you're listening to Erin and you're just getting like, you're getting motivated, you're like, oh gosh, yeah, like let me get something off the plate. I always say the first thing that you should outsource is your editing. Some people though, that's their like, they love it. They're like, oh, but that's my happy place. Well, then you know you, and like, you know, if that's your thing and that's where you get your passion, then obviously continue doing that. But for most people, I find that they're more interested in being in front of the camera and interacting with their, you know, audience and all that stuff. So I always say the first thing, if you can afford it, is editing, because editing is such a huge time suck. And no matter how much you try to edit, like some people get really, really good at it, but for the most part, a professional editor, they're going to do it better than you for the most part, you know? And so I say the first thing is like hire an editor. And then the second thing is, depending on how busy, is either a virtual assistant to help you with all your links and your affiliate links and like all those things in your emails, or a graphic designer to take care of your thumbnails, because your thumbnails are so important that like, yeah, if you can get, but like you said, it's a little tricky because they've got to really know how to make a good thumbnail.
So I think it's great to have a basic understanding of editing before you outsource that.
Yeah.
And I decided to outsource when my Google AdSense revenue was high enough to pay for the editor. That's when I decided to outsource it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And like, even like in my own business too, it's like, I really saw a lot of leeway and a lot of opportunity where I can do other things. That's when I started the boot camp, was when I hired a podcast editor. However, and I say this too, when you're hiring someone and you're outsourcing things, it's really, like you said, it's really important to have a good understanding. So do things yourself for a little while so you know how to articulate and how to communicate with that person. You know the lingo, you know enough. But you know, at some point, when you grow, you're gonna have to. And I even like tell people too that, like my clients and stuff, because like in my boot camp, I have like a whole lesson on the thumbnails, and I'm like, okay, if you have a graphic designer, just have them watch that lesson. Like, have them watch a bunch of those videos, have them watch that, so then they have an understanding. So for some people, I even say like have them look at some of these, you know, lessons in my course, and then they'll have an understanding of how YouTube works. It's not just like telling them make it bright and bold. Like they have to, whoever's working on it needs to understand YouTube and like how YouTube works. So that's what I always tell people too. Get them schooled on YouTube, and it sounds like you're doing that with your graphic designer. So with your production, and just like the video in general, like what is the process from start to finish? And even in like working with your editor and filming, what is that process from start to finish of like, if you have an idea and it's like, say it's like, you know, the top 10 trends for fall, because we're fall right now. What is that process? Because I feel like with your videos, and I've wondered this too in watching your videos, and part of the reason why I want to have you on, because there's a lot of moving parts. You've got photographs, you've got B-roll, you've got you sitting in front of the camera. You obviously have to plan your outfits. What is that? What is that process? Can you walk us through that whole process for you?
Sure. So I try to now keep my calendar pretty steady. So Monday and Tuesdays are my email, like my CEO days. And that's when I can do my research for my videos. So I may have a concept. Like right now I have a concept right here. It's like on my desk. It says jeans for body shape. And I want to do what style of jeans you should wear for each individual body shape. And so I'll just do this quick outline, and then I will do extensive research on that topic, and I will fill it out. It's never tons of notes. It's usually just quick little bullets, because I'm pretty good. I know a lot of information just from years of doing this stuff. So I just need quick bullets or prompts, and then I take my outline in with me to the studio on one shoot days, which is Wednesday or Thursday, and I'll sit down and I will shoot the whole voiceover. That's the part where I'm on camera, and I will shoot that entire video. And then I usually go back after that, and I will, you know, set up the lights differently, and then I will shoot the cutaways. Sometimes I do reverse that process where I shoot the cutaways first, That happens when I'm not exactly sure what outfits I'm going to feature. So sometimes I'll do a style it 3 ways, like I just did recently, a satin midi skirt.
Yeah, let's pull it up so people can kind of see.
I just went in there, and I have a studio. Okay. So I have the studio, and I have racks and racks of clothes in my studio. I'll pull out the satin midi skirt, and then I'll just style as inspired to style looks. And I try to, when I'm in those looks, think of the regular woman and the busy. She might need something for a occasion. She might need something for like running errands, casual. She might need something that's for date night. And so I try to vary it that way. And then once I have my 3 shot, I take iPhone and I use the iPhone picture to talk about the looks. So that's how I do it with outfit videos. And with other videos, some of them might be a bit more research. I'll use my paper outline and go from there. So once I've shot both parts of the video, so the one element would be the main voiceover with me on camera sitting there, standing there. The second element would be all of those cutaway shots. So once I've shot both of those elements, I will then upload all of the pieces, all of the clips to a Dropbox folder. Then either I or one of the members of my team will go into the Dropbox folder and label each folder only, like look number 1, midi skirt with blazer, look number 2, and then so on. And then that gets submitted to the editor, who then edits the video. She puts it in Frameo, which is an online website. It's frame.io. And then I approve or suggest changes on that website. And that's basically how it works. So once it's approved, I download it, upload it, and then Caitlin on my team does all of the hyperlinks in the video.
Wow. Yeah, because your videos, I mean, it's a lot because you're talking about all these different looks. So it sounds like, okay, so that I understand it, let me pause this here. It sounds like you basically conceptualize the idea, you spend time on that, you figure out, at what part of the process do you figure out the title and the thumbnail? Is that while you're doing that research and all that?
That's during the research phase. I try to come up with a title that's sexy. You know, I want a good title. And then once I have like 2 or 3 of these, my little paper outlines, then I'll go into the video and start shooting. Sometimes I don't have the outfits flushed out totally until I get into the studio. I will do the cutaways of the outfits first, take the picture of the outfit, like in the mirror selfie, and then I use the iPhone, the pictures on the iPhone to help me as my guide as I'm describing them during the main voiceover part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And that's so helpful and so great, especially for those ladies that are listening that are like doing fashion and they're trying to figure it out. I mean, it's so many moving pieces and parts. And I kind of do the same thing. Like I have my phone, when I'm doing my interviews, and like I kind of refer to like questions and stuff I want to ask. And then, yeah. And so do you have is your studio in your house, or is it like in a place that you rent out?
It's rental space. So when we moved here to Telluride, the housing prices are a lot higher than when we were living in Texas. So we downsized quite a bit. And so I don't have a lot of extra space in our house. And I think it would get pretty overwhelming for my husband and my family if I had all of these clothes coming in and out of the house. So I'll unbox them here, and then I'll take them to the studio, and then that's where I'll shoot them. And so that studio space is really helpful.
That's so nice. This must be like
outside
a dream.
the home. So.
Yeah, to have that space. Like I wish something, because I live in LA. Prices are home prices are really expensive here. As you can see, I'm here in my bedroom because my office is like, I have a friend staying with me or whatever. It's like, and every now and then, I have 2 kids. So like the baby sometimes naps there because like the baby and like my toddler, they don't like, they keep each other up. So it's like, there's not a lot of space. And sometimes I wish, oh my God, I wish I had like my own space I could just go to. Like what a dream. Like, do you enjoy having that?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. It's a game changer for me. It really is. It's a happy place. And like my where my kids play sports is close by, and so they can like walk over after practice, and it's just great. It's such a great little setup.
How often do you go there to your studio?
Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay. Those are your studio days.
Yeah, those are my studio days, and sometimes I'll pepper in a photography shoot in there. So this week, for example, I'm booked on Thursday for a couple hours with the photographer, and so that will kind of cut into my studio time a little bit, but I'm still made up on that day. And so what I'm trying to do is maximize
your makeup days.
The makeup.
Oh, me too. That's I do my interviews. It's like, no, I'm not putting all this makeup on like every single day. It's gonna be like twice a day, and like I got my setup. I'm good. 100%. Yeah. I know. As women, we have to think about these things because if you're spending like an hour on your makeup and your hair, you're like, I'm not gonna do this like every single day. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not putting on false eyelashes like more than I have to, and so it's like, it's like, and it just makes more sense. It's like batch filming. It's like making the best use of your time. It's like you have to get smart with how you use your time.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, as a mom with 2 kids, it's just crazy. You're crazy. Work is like a break compared to your.
I mean, it really is, especially when you're doing something fun.
But you're like, oh, we should work then.
Okay, so let's move on. The other question I had about that was, when you're in your studio, so that videographer that came, or that editor, she only came once and basically set up your studio essentially with the lighting and the camera and all that. Do you have somebody doing the filming when you're filming in your studio, or is that something you do by yourself?
That's something I do by myself, but it's definitely an area that I'm looking to potentially outsource. The thing is, a lot of it's just patience, and so I don't necessarily know if I want a body in the studio for an entire day. That'd be expensive and kind of unnecessary, because it's not like I'm doing these cutaways with lots of whiz bang. The reality is people want to see the clothes. They want to see them clearly. They don't want a lot of movement in the shot. And so I can literally just set the camera up on the tripod, make sure it's on autofocus, make sure that it's not blowing out or that the contrast isn't too much, and hit and reframe it a little bit for cutaways. Those are the shots of the details, like your handbag or your jacket or pants. You want to show a pair of shoes or booties, but I've gotten so good at it. I really do think that I don't need that. Mm-hmm. It would be nice, but I don't think it's an essential for me, and I think it would be a really expensive hire to have somebody in there all day Wednesday, Thursday with me.
Yeah, that would be really expensive, especially if you've got it down. You feel like you're good. Where do you find these people?
That is a great question. I think it's really hard to find people.
Trust me, I agree.
My blog editor I found because she was a family friend. She had just graduated from college. She was looking for somebody or something to do. I really trained her, and she is really a sharp, wonderful source, and she's a wonderful young woman. But it did require a lot of patience and training on my part. There are a lot of Facebook groups that you can join that you could always put the feelers out there, like, hey, I'm looking for a virtual assistant. Does anyone know anybody? And that was how I found Allison, my virtual assistant. I think that's one of the ways you can do it. You can look for graphics. Like, I was looking for somebody to animate my logo. And so I went on to Fiverr. I found somebody that had good reviews. I looked at their work. Yeah. And they animated my logo for me. They did a great job. And I just had them animate body shape graphics for me, so that when I do my body shape videos, they are actually a video that animates. So like Fiverr's a great resource. Facebook groups are a great resource. Just asking people, putting it out there. LinkedIn would be another one where you could potentially find people. But I've had the most luck with the Facebook groups, I would say.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so we're at the last part of the interview, and you've been so amazing, and you've just given so much info. So we'll go through this really quick. This is what we ask everybody that comes onto the show. So what would you say is your defining moments of your YouTube career so far?
Oh my gosh. You know, the most special opportunity that I've gotten because of YouTube was I was part of a national beauty campaign for Ulta Beauty. And that was solely because of YouTube. The art director for that shoot watches my videos and recommended me as one of the faces for their spring beauty campaign last year.
Wow.
And that was like this total crazy pinch moment.
How amazing. Congratulations. That is so, so cool. What is the hardest part for you about being a YouTube influencer?
Explaining what you do.
Oh. To what? To just like people you meet in real life?
They're like, wait, so how do you make money doing that? You know, like it's just such a new thing still. People don't understand what it is. So
Especially
I
you
like
being
the headline version of how I explain it to people.
Yeah, especially you being 45. It's not like, because I feel like that the generations like don't get it. Like if you're 22 or 20, people are like, oh yeah, yeah. But like being 45, it's like totally like, what? Like, is that, oh yeah, my friend's kid does something like that.
Yeah, and I do think that for people that are older that may be listening or watching, it is a bit of a slower process, I think, growing on YouTube because just the numbers aren't quite there, you know, in relation to the younger demo. I mean, definitely younger people are on YouTube in droves, and women over 40, they're there, but it's not quite as many people.
Yeah. So what is your advice for someone who might be over 40 who wants to get onto YouTube?
Well, I think all the usual suspects, you know, you need the consistency, you need to have the strategy, you need to find your niche. You know, we always talk about riches in the niches, but also have that patience and that level of understanding that it is more of a process, and you have to be a bit more patient than somebody who maybe is 18, 19, 20, early 20s. They're going to have just more of their people on YouTube, but the over 40 woman is there, and she does watch and she does listen, because I also transfer my videos into podcast format. And so that's another option.
I didn't know that.
Way of connecting. Yeah. I mean, I never talk about it, but it's there.
So you have like a podcast like that, but basically it's the audio version of your videos?
That's right. Exactly right.
And you have people there listening?
Because I know because some women don't want to watch the video. They want to listen to it. And so I wanted to give them that option. So it is literally just the video in podcast format. And I think the podcast is doing well. Like, I literally pay zero attention to it, but I just wanted women to have that as an option. And I think that's another way that women over 40 can connect with other women over 40, because we listen to podcasts. I love podcasts. I listen to your podcast, you know? So
Yeah, I love podcasts. Yeah, and that's the thing. The other thing I tell too is like, I have another client who's, you know, in her 40s, and she does, you know, fashion, beauty or whatever. And I was like, you know, for you, a metric you should really be paying attention to, and one that, you know, we look at really is the amount of money that she's making from affiliates. Because the thing is like, that's a huge metric to take a look at in regards to the success of your videos. Because the thing is though, there's a lot more younger people on YouTube, but there's people that have money and that are shopping that are in their 30s and in their 40s and in their 50s, right? So I think, like, granted, maybe it's a little bit of a slower growth, but ultimately if you're smart about it and you're like you are, Erin, and you're using things like affiliates, it's like, it's just, that's the home run, really. And that's the thing that you really also should be measuring is like, are your videos converting? Are you making that, you know, are you having that connection with your audience so that they trust you and that you're providing that value so that ultimately they are using those affiliates? Like, for that demographic, for sure, I think that's something really to pay attention to.
100%. And I think it's a demo that's still underrepresented on YouTube. And I think there's a lot of room for opportunity there. And you're right. I mean, women who are in their 40s have more money. It's just, it is what it is. And they also appreciate quality over quantity. So they're willing to spend a bit more, you know, to get what they want.
100%. Yeah. If you were to get started today, what would you have done differently?
I would definitely have been more strategic right from the get-go. And I wish that I created this YouTube guide, and I wish I had had my own YouTube guide starting out.
Yeah. If you could change one thing about YouTube, what would it be?
I think the hardest thing is the negativity and the nasty comments that you get sometimes. That's the hardest thing. And if I could change one thing, that would be it for sure.
Yeah. What is the biggest mistake you've made on your YouTube channel so far?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake that I've made so far is just getting back to that strategy, not being strategic enough out of the gate. That would be the biggest mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it sounds like you saw so much change and growth in your channel once you started really honing in on the different strategies.
It's like a different channel, basically. It's the same channel, but with the strategy behind it, the growth has been crazy.
Yeah. There's the last question. So what is your YouTube superpower? Meaning, what it is about you that comes naturally to you that you think has contributed to your success on YouTube?
I think all of the training in television news makes me uniquely qualified and able to handle deadlines like a boss. Like, you give me a deadline, I can get it done.
Yeah, totally.
And I can get things done fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, Erin, thank you so much. This was a great episode. So many details, so many just things that I think people are always wondering. And when they watch somebody like you who has such a successful channel, the back end of it. So thank you so much for just being so open and sharing all this with our audience here. So for people that are brand new to you, where do you want to point them to? What's the best way for them to check out more of you?
I'm pretty much Busbee style across all platforms, and that's like Busy Bee without the Y, Busbee style.
Awesome. And then I'll have all the links in the description below and in the show notes. And, comment below what you got out of this, what you learned, what you're going to take away, what changes you're going to make to your channel after listening to the amazing Erin. Well, thank you so much, Erin. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you, Erika. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Of course. Bye.